You don't lose your dreams at night. You lose them in the first 10 minutes after you wake up. Why most people start the day already behind? There's no alarm louder than regret. But the thing is, most people don't realize where it begins. It starts in the quiet. Those first few minutes after waking up. That's when the damage happens. No big decisions, no major crisis, just a few small automatic choices that feel harmless in the moment. Snooze the alarm, pick up the phone, scroll for a minute, check messages, headlines, and suddenly you're not running in the morning. It's running you. That's the trap. You think you're easing into your day, but what's really happening is this. You're teaching your brain that outside noise matters more than your internal compass. That reaction is more urgent than intention. And if you do that enough days in a row, your life starts to look like it's on autopilot. Not because you're lazy, not because you don't care, but because you never realized how much power lives in those early minutes. Snoozing isn't harmless. It's a message to your brain. Here's something most people don't realize. When you hit the snooze button, your body may rest a little longer, but your mind starts to unravel trust. That tiny decision tells your brain, what I said last night, that I'd get up and start, wasn't serious. Now, it's not just a sleep habit, it's a pattern of delay. Over time, this builds. You push goals. You delay hard conversations. You postpone the gym, the reading, the work that matters. And that's how dreams erode, not because you're incapable, but because you train yourself to treat important things as optional. The real cost of chaos. Let's be clear. It's not about being a morning person. It's about being a focused person. When your mornings are chaotic, everything else follows. Your decision-making weakens. You move slower and more reactively. You fall into patterns that aren't serving you. Think of it this way. If your day starts with noise, interruptions, and passive habits, you spend most of it trying to catch up. You don't think clearly. You don't plan effectively. You jump from task to task, reacting instead of leading. This doesn't just affect your to-do list, it affects your energy, your goals, your relationships. Because when you're behind all day, you're frustrated all day. And frustration, stacked over time, turns into burnout. A quick look at what happens in the brain. Let's bring in something practical. Neuroscience tells us that the first 30 to 45 minutes after waking are when your brain is most flexible. This is called the alpha state. It's a brief window where your subconscious is still active, meaning it's the perfect time to set focus, build intention, and rehearse what you want to achieve. But when you start with chaos, checking emails, watching reels, reacting to drama, you hijack that state. Instead of putting your brain to work for you, you hand over the wheel to distraction. No wonder people feel overwhelmed before lunch. What you're losing, without even noticing, let's stop sugarcoating this. Here's what a reactive morning slowly takes from you. Clarity. You forget what matters by 9 a.m. Energy. You're mentally tired before you've done anything important. Control. Your day is driven by others, their messages, their crises, their noise. Progress, small goals get pushed. Big goals never get momentum. This is the hidden tax of a chaotic morning. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it's expensive. Because over weeks and months, this becomes your rhythm, and your rhythm becomes your results. Let me show you something familiar. Think back to your last off day, the one where everything felt rushed. You overslept, skipped breakfast, started working in a bad mood, got irritated over small things, procrastinated on something important. Now, zoom out. What triggered that domino effect? Chances are, it wasn't one big failure, it was how your morning started. This is where people go wrong. They try to fix their stress, their productivity, their motivation in the middle of the day. But the damage was already done first thing in the morning. Now flip that, the day everything went right. You've had those mornings too. You woke up early, did one thing for yourself, before the world asked anything from you. No rush, no noise, just intention. You moved through the day, calm, sharp, clear. You didn't overreact. You didn't spiral. That wasn't magic. That was the structure. That was what happens when the first 15 minutes go right. It's not about a perfect routine. It's about ownership. Let's not overcomplicate this. You don't need a 2-hour meditation or a green smoothie every day. You just need ownership, a morning that belongs to you. Even just 10 minutes of something deliberate, a walk, writing your top goal, stretching in silence, drinking water instead of checking your phone. These aren't life-changing on their own, but they create a
chain reaction that is, because the person who starts the day with purpose finishes the day with power, and the person who reacts early spent all day recovering. Your morning is the mirror of your momentum. Start cloudy, live foggy. Start clear, lead forward. So what happens next? Now that we've seen what mornings quietly steal from us, here's the better question. What would it look like if you took that time back? What if the first thing you did every morning reminded you that your goals matter, your focus is strong, and your future is built in small, simple blocks of time? We're not talking about turning into a machine. We're talking about removing the things that turn you into someone you're not proud of. The phone, the noise, the delay, the mental mess. You can win that back. Not overnight, but tomorrow morning. And that's where we go next. Jim Rohn's first principle, discipline over emotion. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Jim Rohn. What really builds a successful life? Jim Rohn didn't sell quick fixes. He didn't talk about hacks or luck. He talked about something simpler and harder, discipline, and not the loud kind. Not the boot camp style motivation we see online. He meant the quiet, consistent kind, especially when nobody's watching. That starts in the morning, because how you begin your day isn't just about how early you wake up. It's about how often you choose discipline over emotion. The real battle happens right after you wake up. The moment your eyes open, you're faced with a choice, not between good and bad, but between what you said you'd do and what you feel like doing. You said you'd get up at 6. You feel like laying there until 7. You said you'd go for a walk. You feel like scrolling your feed. This is the moment that decides more than your morning. It decides whether your day is run by feelings or by your values. Discipline isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters. Most people think discipline is about overworking or being rigid. It's not. It's about doing what actually moves your life forward, even when it's inconvenient, especially when it's uncomfortable. That's why mornings are such a big deal, because they test your decision-making when your willpower is still warming up. And if you can pass that test in the morning, you're more likely to pass it again later, at work, in your relationships, in your health. Here's the problem with waiting to feel motivated. People often wait until they feel like doing something, but feelings are unstable. They change based on sleep, mood, weather, hormones, noise. Discipline doesn't wait for good conditions. It's the part of you that remembers what you committed to and acts on it anyway. And mornings are the first chance you get to train that muscle. A simple example that proves the point. Let's say you promised yourself you'd write 200 words each morning. You don't want it today. You're tired. Your mind is blank. Nothing sounds good, but you sit down anyway. You type. It's not perfect, but you finish. Now, here's the difference. You've just proven to your brain that you keep promises. That's not just productivity. That's an identity change. And identity change leads to long-term transformation. You can't build a first-class life on second-class habits. Jim used to say, if you don't design your own life plan, chances are you'll fall into someone else's. And guess what they have planned for you? Not much. That starts every morning. Without a plan, you go straight into reaction mode. You respond to texts. You check updates. You follow noise. But if you begin with structure, just a few solid, simple actions, you take ownership. And that's what successful people do. They act on purpose. They don't wait to be pulled. Discipline isn't loud. It's quiet, early, and repeated. That's where your future begins. The science of habit. How mornings rewire your brain. Habits aren't just actions, they're neural pathways. Let's take this out of theory for a second. When you repeat the same action each morning, drinking water, stretching, reading your goals, you're not just building routine, you're building actual wiring in the brain. That's how habit works. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a helpful action and a useless one. It just follows whatever gets repeated. Why morning habits matter more than you think. There's a reason smart people talk about the first hour. It's not because it sounds motivational. It's because your brain is still in a plastic state after waking, more open to influence. In the first 30 to 45 minutes, your mind is more absorbent. This is when learning sticks easier, when beliefs settle deeper, when emotions leave a bigger imprint. So, when you scroll through social media first thing, you're not just catching up. You're teaching your brain what to focus on, anxiety, comparison, and noise. On the other hand, if you sit for 5 minutes, breathe, review your goal, and move your body, you're building internal leadership. Every morning is a repetition of who you're becoming. Let's say you want to become more focused. A focused person doesn't just try harder. They do things that train their focus. That might mean writing a single task for the day, reading one chapter without distractions, doing a workout without checking your phone. Each of those is a vote for your future self, and each vote builds confidence. That's why morning routines matter. They're not about productivity. They're about repetition of identity. Don't just break old habits, replace them. Your brain doesn't like gaps. If you remove something like scrolling, you have to replace it, or your mind will just go looking for another distraction. So instead of saying, I won't check my phone, say, I'll write down my intention for the day before touching anything else. That's not a restriction. That's the direction. And direction is what the brain prefers. A 3-minute morning brain reset. No apps needed. If you want to start building better wiring, try this. Sit up. No phone yet. Drink water. Hydration impacts alertness. Breathe 10 deep breaths. Write one sentence. Today, I want to feel underscore, 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 and focus on underscore, 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 underscore. Move for 2 minutes. Stretch, jump, walk. Just move. That's it. It's not magic. It's science and structure. The brain doesn't wait for later. It builds now. What you repeat in the morning becomes who you are in the future. Designing your first 15 minutes, the success template. Start simple, but start with purpose. You don't need a big morning routine to change your life. What you need is a small system that's easy to repeat and meaningful to you. And 15 minutes is enough. In fact, short routines are often more powerful than long ones because you're more likely to stick to them. The 5-part morning template, no frills, no excuses. Here's a practical structure you can build around. 1, wake without delay. The alarm goes off. Get up. That first decision sets the tone. If you've been hitting snooze, put the alarm across the room. Use a sunrise alarm clock if harsh beeping stresses you out. 2, water before screen. Your body is dehydrated after sleep. Drinking 10 to 12 ounces of water immediately helps your brain wake up. Product tip: hydro flask or a glass bottle next to your bed makes it automatic. 3, write a quick focus statement. Use a small notebook, not your phone. Write something like, today, I'm focused on finishing my pitch deck. Today, I want to stay calm in tough meetings. You're setting intention before. Outside input. 4, move your body 2 to 5 minutes. No gym needed. Stretch, air squats, jumping jacks, brisk walk around your room. It's about triggering blood flow, not burning calories. 5. Input something useful. Open a book, a real one. Read 1 to 2 pages. Or listen to a podcast from someone who inspires clear thinking. If you need a place to start, try Jim Rohn's The Art of Exceptional Living or Atomic Habits by James Clear. Why these steps work together. You're hitting 3 pillars. Physical, wake up the body. Mental, set your direction. Emotional, regain control before the noise starts. These aren't huge actions, but they anchor your mindset. Even if the rest of your day goes sideways, you've already led the first part. That small win carries more weight than you think. Don't personalize everything too soon. Some people try to perfect their morning routine before they've made it stick. They tweak the playlist, adjust the temperature, try 5 different apps. Here's the truth. Simplicity builds consistency. Once it becomes second nature, then personalize. Start with structure, not perfection. Mornings aren't about doing more. They're about doing what matters before the world interrupts. Energy, momentum, movement, getting out of your head. You don't wait for energy. You create it. Most people start their day in their head. That's the problem. Let's get real. The first thing most people do when they wake up, they start thinking, overthinking. Before their feet hit the ground, their mind is already spinning. What's on my schedule? Did I forget something yesterday? Should I even get up now or snooze once more? Why do I feel tired even though I slept enough? They don't move. They don't speak. They don't act. They just lay there, stuck in thoughts that go in circles. And that's where momentum dies, in silence, in stillness, in hesitation. Because the body hasn't moved, the mind takes over. And when the mind has nothing solid to do, it creates anxiety. Stillness isn't always peace. Sometimes it's paralysis. People think staying in bed longer is restful. But more time lying still doesn't mean more energy. If you've ever hit snooze 3 times, laid there another 30 minutes, and still felt tired, you already know this. Stillness might feel easier in the moment, but it builds resistance. The more you delay moving, the harder it becomes. It's not a rest. It's mental weight. And the longer you carry it, the heavier your whole day feels. Why movement in the morning matters so much. Let's break it down without fluff. When you move, even a little, your body starts releasing chemicals that wake up your mind. Dopamine improves motivation and focus. Serotonin boosts mood and emotional balance. Adrenaline increases energy and sharpness. Blood flow brings oxygen to the brain and muscles. None of that happens when you scroll your phone under the blanket. It all starts with motion. You're not waiting for motivation to show up. You're turning it on by acting. You don't need a gym. You don't need a plan. You need a spark. Let's kill a myth. Movement in the morning doesn't mean you have to go run 5 miles, lift weights, or follow a perfect routine. This isn't about fitness. This is about activating momentum. And for that, small movements are more than enough. Here's what movement might look like in a regular morning. Standing up as soon as the alarm goes off. Reaching both arms to the ceiling and holding that stretch for 20 seconds. Doing 10 slow squats next to your bed. Walking slowly around your home while breathing deeply. Rolling your shoulders and neck while thinking about your first task. These don't require equipment. They don't require time. They require a decision. A simple one: I'm not staying stuck. I'm moving. Why motion fixes what mental pep talks can't. Here's something nobody tells you. You can sit and think all morning. You can plan, prepare, and try to psych yourself up. But none of it creates the shift that physical movement does. Why? Because motion sends a message to your brain that's stronger than thoughts. We're doing something. We're not stuck anymore. And that changes your mental state automatically. The body leads, the mind follows. This is why people feel better after a walk. Not because their problems disappear, but because their chemistry changes. Their nervous system gets the signal: you're not frozen. You're active. You're capable. The real enemy of progress? Hesitation. One of the worst habits people build in the morning is stalling. Laying there thinking. Waiting to feel ready mentally debating with yourself, scrolling to avoid acting, repeating this every day. Hesitation becomes the default. The more you delay action, the more comfortable your brain becomes with inaction. That's how dreams are lost, not from big failures, but from quiet mornings full of tiny delays. Real story: how one small movement changed a career. There's a story about a young graphic designer named Malik who struggled with procrastination every morning. He'd wake up, check emails in bed, then start stressing. He didn't move, he didn't eat, he didn't even speak until noon most days. Work piled up, clients left, self-doubt grew. One day, a mentor asked him, "What's the first thing you do when you wake up?" Malik admitted, "I lie there and check my phone for 45 minutes. The mentor told him, "Tomorrow, don't open your phone. Stand up, walk barefoot outside for 2 minutes. That's it." Malik thought it sounded dumb, but he tried it. On day 1, something shifted. He didn't feel amazing, but he felt different. Awake, slightly more clear. He added one more step the next day, stretching. The next day, he drank water and sat down at his desk. In 2 weeks, he was working by 9 a.m. daily. In 2 months, his freelance business tripled. Not because he became perfect, but because he broke the pattern. He stopped starting his day in his head. He started moving, and that changed everything. If you only take one habit from this entire script, make it this: before checking your phone, before thinking too much, before coffee, move your body, even if it's just 60 seconds. Not for fitness, not for performance. To tell your brain who's in charge. That single habit, repeated daily, builds identity faster than any mindset quote or to-do list ever will. Simple movement routine, 2 to 5 minutes. If you're someone who says, "I don't know where to start," here's a basic structure. Stand up and stretch your arms high 30 seconds. Roll your shoulders forward and backward 20 seconds. March in place or walk around the room 1 to 2 minutes. Take 10 slow, deep breaths. Optional. Do 10 squats or push-ups if you feel ready. No timer, no app, no fancy routine. Just commitment to motion. The first movement of the morning isn't exercise. It's proof that you've chosen progress over paralysis. So, what's the real lesson here? You don't need to change your life all at once. But you do need to stop giving your day away before it started. The longer you lie still, the harder it is to begin. The longer you stall, the louder your doubts become. And the longer you live in hesitation, the more distant your goals will feel. But if you move, even once, even for a minute, you send a signal to yourself. I'm in motion now, and that means I'm not stuck anymore. That's the beginning of real momentum. And momentum, once it starts, can carry you farther than you thought possible. The power of a morning routine, Jim Rohn's success wisdom. Keeping the same structure, tone, and clarity as approved in Part 5. No shortcuts. No AI thumbprint. Fully natural human-style writing. Word count, 1/700. Fueling the mind, mental diet versus mental junk. Your mind eats first. Feed it right or feed it noise. You think your morning problems are about time, but they're really about input. Let's start with a hard truth. What you feed your mind first thing in the morning shapes how your entire day will feel. Not because of what you learn, but because of what you focus on. Focus is a form of nutrition. Just like you can fuel your body with clean food or junk food, you can fuel your thoughts with clarity or clutter. And most people are running on mental junk. The first thing you read in the morning sets your mental filter. Here's how it works. You wake up. Your brain is still adjusting. It's open. It's sensitive. Then you check your phone. News, texts, someone's drama, someone's highlight reel. And just like that, your brain says, "This is what matters today. Let's keep watching more of that." That's how your attention gets hijacked. Not because you're weak, but because the brain follows repetition. You're not just checking your phone. You're programming your brain. That's not an exaggeration. That's backed by neuroscience. When you wake up, your brain is in a theta to alpha transition. This means it's absorbing signals from the outside world and using them to prepare for the day. So, when you scroll headlines full of negativity or comparison first thing, you train your brain to look for threats, react noise, doubt yourself, chase approval. That might sound dramatic, but repeat it for 10 days and tell me it doesn't affect your thinking. The problem isn't your phone. It's what you let it say to your brain when it's still fragile. Mental nutrition is just as important as physical nutrition. Let's put this in a more practical way. If you woke up and drank motor oil, you'd feel terrible by lunch. No debate. No one would argue with you. But feed your brain garbage and nobody says a word. Clickbait, videos, endless notifications, arguments in comment sections, shallow content disguised as motivation. That's the equivalent of drinking mental motor oil. It leaves you foggy, scattered, moody, unsettled, unfocused, and the worst part, you don't even notice it's happening until it becomes your default. You can't think clearly with a dirty lens. Everything you consume becomes the lens you view the day through. If you consume fear, you move with hesitation. If you consume anger, you react to everyone's words. If you consume comparison, you second-guess every decision. That's why the first thing you put into your mind matters so much. It becomes your lens, and that lens shapes your choices, your tone, your posture, your decisions, everything. Your morning mind diet, what to feed, what to avoid. Let's get very clear and practical here. White heavy check mark, what to feed your mind, first 30 to 60 minutes. A book that supports the person you want to become. Example, Jim Rohn's The Seasons of Life or James Clear's Atomic Habits. Written goals, short and specific. Today, I will speak calmly in the meeting. I will complete one pitch email before noon. A voice or podcast that speaks wisdom, not noise. Recommended The Daily Stoic, Craig Greschel Leadership, or Jim Rohn Classic Talks. Positive language written by you for you. I don't need to control everything. I need to control how I respond. Crossmark, what to avoid feeding your mind early. Breaking news before breakfast. Social media feeds, especially Instagram or TikTok. Random YouTube shorts with no context or purpose. Emails before intention is set. Negative group chats, political debates, gossip threads. If you avoid junk input for just 5 mornings straight, you'll already feel more in control of your focus. Small practice. 10 minutes of focused input each morning. Here's a simple mental meal plan. Try this tomorrow. Wake up. Don't touch your phone. Sit down. Open a physical book or notebook. Read 2 pages. Slowly. Let your brain wake up with calm. Write down one value plus one goal. Example. Value, patience. Goal. Follow up with 2 clients by noon. Breathe. Close your eyes. Say one thing you're thankful for. That's it. No fluff. No apps. No distractions. Just you, fueling your own mind. What happens when you change your morning input? Here's what most people report after 2 to 3 weeks of protecting their mind input in the morning. Less reactivity, you don't take small things personally. More focus, your brain starts filtering out distractions. Better conversations, you're more thoughtful and intentional. More energy, not because you slept better, but because you stopped mentally burning out early. The most common line I hear? I feel lighter, like the weight I didn't even realize I was carrying disappeared. That's not magic. That's intentional input. Mental focus isn't luck, it's structure. Here's the reality. People with sharp minds aren't born that way. They just don't give their attention away for free in the morning. They protect it like it's oxygen, because it is. And here's the part most people miss. You don't need an extra hour. You just need to stop giving the first 10 minutes to things that drain you. Build a morning shelf or digital folder. Here's a tiny upgrade that works wonders. Create a dedicated space, either physical or digital, for your morning input. Physical shelf idea. One inspiring book. One gratitude journal. A small note card with your personal values. A pen that feels good to use. Digital version. Folder in your podcast app labeled Morning Focus. Notes app with daily goal templates. Playlist of 10-minute talks or meditations. This reduces decision fatigue. You're not waking up wondering what to do. It's ready. You just show up. You wouldn't eat from a dirty plate. Don't think of dirty food. What's the real takeaway? The first thing you feed your mind in the morning isn't just information. It's direction. You're telling your brain, this is what matters today. And the brain listens. If you feed it fear, it'll go hunting for more problems. If you feed it garbage, it'll distract you all day. But if you feed it structure, focus, and clarity, it will work for you, not against you. You don't need more knowledge. You need better mental habits. And those start the moment you open your eyes. The mindset shift from I have to I get to. Discipline isn't punishment. It's a promise you keep to your future self. Why mornings often feel hard, even before you get out of bed. If you've ever woken up and said to yourself, ugh, I have to get up, you're not alone. That phrase, I have to, is one of the most common thoughts people have first thing in the morning. But it's also one of the most damaging, because the words you use aren't just words. They shape how you feel, how you act, and how you move through the day. When your brain hears, I have to, it thinks of obligation. It thinks of pressure. It treats the task like a burden. And when you start the day feeling like everything you need to do is a burden, it's very hard to feel motivated, excited, or even clear. Your routine becomes something you dread, instead of something that supports you. Where does this I have to mindset come from? Most of us learn from school or work that mornings are for rushing. Wake up fast, get ready fast, get to school or office fast. Start doing tasks immediately.
There was no space for reflection, no moment for peace, no reward for calmness. We were trained to move under pressure, not move with purpose. So now, even when we try to build a morning routine, something simple, quiet, just for ourselves, we bring that same rushed, heavy energy, and we feel like we're failing if we don't do it perfectly. How do you shift the feeling of pressure into the feeling of purpose? This is where language becomes powerful. What if, instead of saying, I have to wake up early, you said, I get to wake up early and start my day with control, not chaos? It seems like a small shift, but that one word, get instead of have, changes the whole tone. It reminds you that this is a choice. You're not being forced. You're choosing to do this for a better life, not because someone else told you to. When you say, I get to write my goals, it no longer feels like a chore. It feels like an act of self-respect. When you say, I get to move my body, you stop focusing on what's hard and start remembering what's valuable. This small mindset shift helps you reconnect with your why. And the stronger your why, the longer your discipline will last. Discipline feels like a punishment until it becomes a reward. Here's what beginners need to understand. Discipline always feels uncomfortable at the beginning. That's normal. It doesn't mean something is wrong with you. When you start waking up 20 minutes earlier, or when you write in a journal for the first time, it may feel strange. You may want to quit. You may ask yourself, what's the point of this? But the point is this. Every time you do something uncomfortable, and you do it anyway, you are becoming the kind of person who takes responsibility for their life. Not out of guilt, not out of fear, but out of intention. In the first few days, that discipline might feel like work, but after a few weeks, it feels like support. It feels like peace. It feels like something that's helping you, not something that's draining you. Practical example, turning discipline into gratitude. Let's say you want to build a habit of writing your goals every morning. At first, it felt awkward. You don't know what to write. You might say to yourself, what's the point? I'm not even doing anything big right now. This feels fake. But if you keep writing, day after day, something strange happens. You start noticing what you care about. You start tracking progress, even small progress. You start saying no to distractions because you remember your goal. And one day, you'll wake up, open your journal, and instead of saying, I have to write my goals, you'll say, I can't believe I get to sit here quietly and focus on what matters before anyone else can touch my peace. That's the reward. That's what discipline becomes. Not a task, but source of pride. What if you miss a day or mess up? This is important for beginners. Discipline is not about perfection. You will have off days. You will feel lazy sometimes. You might sleep through the alarm. You might forget to write your goals. That doesn't mean you failed. Think of discipline like brushing your teeth. If you miss one day, your teeth won't fall out. But if you keep missing, eventually problems build up. The goal isn't to never mess up. The goal is to return quickly when you do. Instead of quitting, you say, "Okay, I slipped. Now I'm starting again. One small step." This mindset, forgiving yourself while staying committed, is what separates people who keep going from people who give up. How to shift your thinking practically every morning. Here's a small 2-minute exercise you can do daily to build this mindset. Sit quietly for 60 seconds. Take 5 slow breaths. Ask yourself, what do I get to do this morning that supports my future? Say it out loud or write it down. Example, I get to read a book that sharpens my mind. I get to move for 5 minutes and feel stronger. I get to choose how this day starts, no one else. This teaches your brain to see the gift inside the discomfort, and that's where your motivation begins to shift. Why this mindset shift makes the routine easier to stick to. When your morning routine feels like punishment, your brain will fight it. It will make excuses. It will look for ways out. But when your routine feels like an investment, something you do for your well-being, growth, and goals, you'll protect it. You'll start to enjoy it. Not because it's always easy, but because it gives you back something more valuable than comfort. Pride, clarity, strength, progress. And when you start the day with those emotions, everything changes. The routine didn't get easier. You just started seeing it as a gift, not a grind. Key takeaway for the beginner. If you're just starting out, don't worry about doing everything perfectly. Instead, focus on how you think about the routine. Are you treating it like a chore? Or are you beginning to see it as a chance? Because your mindset is the soil, and your habits are the seeds. If the soil is full of pressure, the seeds won't grow. But if the soil is full of purpose, even small efforts grow into big change, building an unshakable morning, even in a busy life. Your routine doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be possible and protected. Let's talk about the most common obstacle. I don't have time. If you're trying to build a morning routine, but life feels too full already, I understand you. You might have kids. You might work nights. You might be caregiving. Maybe you're already sleep deprived or juggling 2 jobs. So when someone says, wake up early and do your routine, your first thought might be, that sounds nice, but not for someone like me. This chapter is for you, the person with real-life responsibilities, the person who can't spend 2 hours meditating on a mountain, the person who still wants structure, but needs it to work with real limitations. Let's get this straight. You don't need a long routine. You need a reliable one. A solid morning routine isn't about doing more. It's about doing something that helps you feel calm, focused, and in control before the rest of the world tries to take that from you. Even 5 minutes can make a difference, if those 5 minutes are intentional. This isn't about waking up at 5 a.m. or copying someone else's method. This is about creating your own rhythm, something that fits inside your life as it is today. Let's remove the guilt and the pressure. What matters is that you're starting. And what you start, you can always improve later. What does an unshakable morning routine really mean? An unshakable routine doesn't mean you never miss a day. It means that even when life is messy, your routine is flexible enough to survive. It adjusts, it bends, but it doesn't break. It's built on 3 simple rules. Start small enough to repeat consistently. Make one part of it non-negotiable. Give yourself permission to keep it simple on busy days. Let's break each of these down clearly. So even if you're brand new to routines, you can build one that actually works. Rule 1. Start small enough to repeat every day. If your routine requires 60 minutes, silence, and perfect conditions, it's going to break as soon as life gets noisy. The better option? Build your routine around micro habits, small actions that are meaningful but easy to repeat. For example, drink a full glass of water before your phone. Write one line in a notebook. Today, I want to feel ____. Stretch for 60 seconds before putting on clothes. Read 2 pages of a book while drinking tea. Take 10 slow breaths while sitting on the floor. These actions might seem too simple, but that's the point. When something is simple, it's repeatable, and repetition is where transformation happens. Rule 2. Make one habit your anchor, no matter what. Some mornings will be chaotic. That's life. You'll oversleep. A child will wake you up early. The phone will ring. You'll be running late. So instead of trying to protect a perfect routine, protect just one habit. That one habit is your anchor. It holds your mindset in place even when everything else is moving. Examples of great anchor habits. I will not check my phone until I've written my top goal. I will move my body for 90 seconds, no matter what. I will sit in silence and breathe before I leave the house. Choose one action that matters to you. Repeat it daily, even on busy mornings. That anchor is your lifeline. Rule 3. Allow simplicity on tough days, but never abandon yourself. Life will have hard days. Maybe you were up all night with a baby. Maybe you're grieving something. Maybe you just feel overwhelmed for no clear reason. On those days, you're allowed to simplify. You don't have to run through your full checklist. You don't need to act strong. But what you don't do is disappear on yourself. Even on the toughest day, do one small thing that says, I'm still here. I still matter. I'm still showing up. That might be brushing your teeth with intention. That might be whispering one sentence of gratitude. That might be saying, I'm not okay, but I'm not quitting either. This mindset is what makes your routine unshakable. Not because it never breaks, but because you always return. Sample routines based on different life realities. Let's make this even clearer. Here are 3 different morning routine models, based on time and lifestyle. Pick one that fits, or mix and match. White heavy checkmark 5-minute routine, for parents, shift workers, high-stress weeks. Drink water. Stretch your body for 60 seconds. Write one line. My focus today is ______. Say one thing you're thankful for. Done. White heavy checkmark 15-minute routine, for working professionals or students. Wake and hydrate. 3 minutes of quiet breathing. Write down one goal plus one value. Read 2 to 3 pages of a useful book. Light body movement or short walk. White heavy checkmark 30-minute routine, for early risers or flexible schedules. 5-minute meditation or reflection. Write down 3 goals for the day. Movement, walk, yoga, or bodyweight workout. Gratitude journal. List 3 things you appreciate. Read or listen to something meaningful. None of these routines are better than the others. The best routine is the one you'll stick to. One more beginner tip: prepare at night. If your mornings are rushed, here's a little trick. Do some of your routine setup the night before. Examples: fill your water bottle and place it next to your bed. Lay out a book on the table, open to the right page. Put your journal and pen where you sit. Write your goal for the next day before sleeping. This is called priming. You're setting the stage, so the routine flows with less friction. Less thinking equals more doing. If you're thinking, but my life is too chaotic, read this. You might be telling yourself, I'll start a routine once things calm down. I'll be more disciplined after I fix my sleep. I can't focus on myself until I solve this other problem. But the truth is this: your routine isn't the reward for a perfect life. It's the tool that helps you build a stable one. You don't wait for life to get easier before starting a routine. You build a routine so that life feels easier to handle, even in chaos, even in grief, even when you're tired, especially when you're tired. You don't need a long morning to build peace. You need one habit that reminds you, I'm still in control of how I begin. Final reminder for the beginner: you don't need to impress anyone with your routine. You don't need to do what influencers do. You don't need candles, apps, expensive journals, or perfect silence. You need honesty, consistency, and commitment to something small that improves your life. One breath, one stretch, one sentence, one choice to act, not react. That's how you build an unshakable morning. And over time, that's how you build a life that feels stronger, even when the world shakes around you. Purpose before pressure: why your morning needs meaning. A goal without meaning is a task. A routine without meaning is a trap. Why most morning routines don't work, even if you follow the steps. You can wake up early. You can stretch. You can write goals. You can read. You can drink water. You can do all the right things. But I still feel empty. Why? Because routine without purpose is just repetition. It becomes mechanical. You start going through the motions. You tick off tasks, but you don't feel any different. You wonder, I'm doing everything I was told to do. Why don't I feel motivated? Why do I still feel lost? Here's the answer. You're missing the emotional anchor. That's what this part is about. The real reason for a morning routine isn't productivity, it's alignment. Let's clear something up right now. The goal of your morning routine is not to turn you into a robot who gets 50 things done before breakfast. The real goal is to connect you with what matters most before the world starts pulling you in 100 directions. Think of it this way. If your morning begins with your task list, you'll spend the day chasing outcomes. But if your morning begins with your values, you'll spend the day making decisions that match your identity. That's what we mean by alignment. Your actions match your priorities. And when your life feels aligned, it feels calm, even when it's busy. What happens when you skip purpose and jump into tasks? Most people wake up and go straight into pressure mode. What's due today? What meetings do I have? What do I need to fix, send, handle, avoid? The morning becomes a race. And worse, it becomes a race you didn't choose. You're chasing demands, reacting to noise. You're moving, but you're not centered. And by the time you slow down enough to ask, what actually matters to me? The day is already over. That's why this part of your routine is so important. You need to connect with purpose before you connect with pressure. What is purpose, really? Beginner-friendly explanation. Let's simplify this. Purpose doesn't have to be some big spiritual thing. It's not only for monks, billionaires, or people who've found themselves. At its simplest, purpose just means clarity on what matters to you and why you care. It answers questions like, what kind of person am I trying to become? What values do I want to live by today? What kind of energy do I want to bring into this space? Who am I doing this work for? Myself? My family? My future? You don't need to have it all figured out. But even asking these questions gives your routine weight. It makes it personal. Beginner practice. The 3-minute morning purpose check-in. Here's something you can do every morning, even if you're new to this and unsure where to begin. It only takes 3 minutes. Step 1. Ask yourself one grounding question. Choose one per day, or rotate them. What would make today meaningful, even if it's small? How do I want to treat people today, no matter how busy I get? What matters more than my to-do list right now? What do I need to protect? Time, peace, honesty, energy. Time, peace, honesty, energy. Step 2. Write down a simple answer, one sentence. This keeps you from getting lost in your own head. Example answers. If I stay patient with my kids, today is a success. I want to speak honestly, not just politely. Peace matters more than productivity today. I want to end the day feeling proud of how I showed up. Step 3. Breathe for 30 seconds and repeat your answer in your head. Let the answer sit with you before jumping into the rest of your morning. That's it. This becomes your compass. Why this step is easy to skip and why you must protect it. This step isn't loud. It doesn't feel urgent. It doesn't give you a dopamine hit like checking email or crossing off a task. That's why so many people skip it. But here's what happens when you make time for it anyway. You stop reacting emotionally to small problems. You say no to things that don't align with your values. You handle stress with more calm. You feel more connected to your own life. That's what your morning routine is really about. Not just doing, but remembering who you are and what you're about. Let's get personal. What does purpose mean for you? You might not have a big mission right now. That's okay. But you can still build purpose into your routine in small ways. Let's say you're working a job you don't love, but you're doing it to support your family. That's the purpose. You're learning something new every morning, so you can change careers next year. That's the purpose. You're working out for 5 minutes each morning because you want to live long enough to see your kids graduate. That's the purpose. Purpose doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. When purpose comes first, pressure becomes manageable. Once you know what really matters to you, Your to-do list gets easier to manage. You stop trying to do everything. You stop chasing approval. You stop burning yourself out to meet unrealistic standards. Instead, you lead your day. You don't get dragged by it. This doesn't mean everything goes smoothly. It means even when it gets hard, you know why you're showing up, and that gives your actions power. Tasks can be rescheduled. Values cannot. Begin each morning with what's worth protecting. If you're building a morning routine and you're wondering why it doesn't feel satisfying yet, don't add more steps. Add meaning. Even a 10-minute routine can change your life. If it's anchored in something you care about, ask better questions. Write simpler answers. Remember your reasons, and let those reasons guide you before your phone, before the world, before the pressure. Start your day with you, and everything else you do will have more depth, more clarity, and more peace. You versus you, identity, consistency, and the morning standard. Your morning isn't just a routine. It's a mirror of who you're becoming. Let's end this with the truth most people ignore. No matter how many books you read, no matter how many tips you collect, no matter how many goals you set, your life will always reflect the habits you repeat. Not the ones you wish for, not the ones you plan, but the ones you actually live, day by day, especially in the mornings. And the most powerful thing you can repeat, especially at the beginning of your day, is this: I show up for myself, even when I don't feel like it. Why this part isn't about motivation anymore. By now, you've heard a lot about clarity, movement, mindset, structure, and intention. But this final part is not about getting pumped up or excited. This is about something deeper, your identity. It's about who you believe you're becoming, and whether your routine supports that version of you. If you wake up and tell yourself, I'm someone who always struggles, then you'll move through the day waiting for failure. But if you wake up and think, I may not be perfect, but I'm the kind of person who keeps showing up, then your actions will follow that identity, slowly, but surely. That's what your morning routine is training. Not just your body, not just your focus, but your belief in who you are. You can't wait for confidence. You build it. Here's something every beginner should know. Confidence is not something that suddenly appears. You don't wake up one day feeling ready and sure. Confidence comes from watching yourself take action, especially when you don't feel like it, and proving, yes, I can handle this. Every time you keep a small promise to yourself in the morning, like drinking water, or writing your intention, or just getting out of bed without hitting snooze, you build trust, and that trust turns into confidence, because now your brain says, when I say I'll do something, I do it. That's where real momentum begins. This is why consistency beats perfection every time. You might still be asking, but what if I miss a day? What if I don't do it right? What if my life is too messy right now to stick with it? And the answer is simple. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be consistent. Consistency means you keep coming back. You don't disappear for weeks when life gets tough. You don't wait until everything is calm again. You return, even if it's just with one small action. Think of a garden. If you water the plants every day, even just a little, they grow. But if you flood them once a month and then disappear, they die. Your mind works the same way. It needs small, steady care, not big, dramatic efforts. Why this routine was never just about mornings. By now, you probably realize this script wasn't just about building a morning checklist. This was about learning how to take your power back before anyone else could steal it. Because here's the thing about mornings. They're the only part of the day that usually belongs to you. Before your job asks anything from you, before your inbox fills up, before your family or friends need you, you have that first 10, 20, or 30 minutes. And in that window of time, you get to decide, will I live today by reaction or by purpose? Will I repeat yesterday's patterns or step toward who I want to be? Will I give the first part of me to the world or to myself? The answers aren't in a book. They're in your routine. You versus you. That's the only competition that ever mattered. We live in a world where we're constantly comparing ourselves. They're more disciplined than me. She wakes up earlier. He's more focused. I'm already behind. But your only competition is the previous version of you. What matters is not what someone else does at 5 a.m. What matters is whether you did something this morning that your old self would have skipped. Did you stretch for 2 minutes instead of hitting snooze? Did you write a goal instead of checking Instagram? Did you breathe deeply instead of rushing straight into tasks? That's growth. That's identity transformation. That's you outgrowing the old you. One honest morning at a time. What happens after 30 days of this? Let's say you build your routine slowly. You pick one habit. You repeat it daily. You don't pressure yourself to do everything. After 10 days, you'll start noticing your thoughts are clearer. You feel less reactive. After 20 days, your mornings feel more stable. Your actions feel more intentional. After 30 days, you'll stop needing motivation to get started. Your body will just do it. And after 60 days, people will start asking you what changed. But you'll know nothing changed fast. It changed steadily. That's how real transformation looks. Quiet, steady, honest. Every morning is a vote, not for who you are, but for who you're becoming. Final words. You don't need permission. You need repetition. You've watched every part of this video. You've seen how small actions lead to major shifts. You've learned how discipline can become identity. You've seen how a few quiet minutes each morning can change your entire day. But none of it matters if it stays as information. So here's the final reminder. Don't wait to feel ready. Don't try to be perfect. Don't copy someone else's schedule. Just start, even if it's just one habit, one notebook, one glass of water. Start, not because you need to be great right away, but because you want to be someone who doesn't quit on themselves. That's the power of a morning routine. That's the wisdom Jim Rohn gave us. Simple things, repeated